Thanks a lot. It's a big honor to speak. Thanks, Carlo, my friend. It's fantastic that Pan-Europa is organizing this great event. My name is Günther Fehlinger-Jahn, and here is my presentation, which I call the basic strategy which we all should have. It's very simple. We unite more, and we systematically try to disintegrate our enemies. This should be the basic strategy in all approaches. You can use that in NATO, EU, free trade agreements, and in the issues of BRICS. This is the basic strategy I propose. And my main activity is NATO enlargement, because that's the most important, because as Mrs. Habsburg-Douglas has already mentioned, NATO is the cornerstone of European and worldwide security. So NATO enlargement is the absolute key for all of us, and NATO membership of Ukraine is the way for peace for Ukraine. That has to happen, and Europe in general, as the EU, should join NATO, and this is the way we can achieve more unity, and that's the only thing that impresses our enemy, if we show more unity, and that we can do ourselves. We have to just to overcome our inner kind of historic antagonisms and issues and fragilities. Unity we must achieve by ourselves. What I'm personally doing, I'm a blogger and X-activist. Here's my Twitter handle, Günther Fehlinger. If you follow me, I would be very grateful. And I posted and endorsed all the independence movement who are present here. I endorsed the independence of Buryatia and of Kalmykia and of all the other new emerging states of ex-Russia recently. My presentation today is exactly about the role model which we have to use now for the future of Russia. This is the role model of ex-Yugoslavia, of the breakup of Yugoslavia in the 90s, and it's now 7 states. Today, it's totally normal to talk about Montenegro as independent country, Kosovo as independent country, Macedonia as independent country. 30 years ago, not so much. When I was advocating for the independence of Montenegro, Macedonia, Kosovo 30 years ago as a student representative in the Center Right-Wing Students, everybody said to me, not so fast. This is not gonna happen. It's a fantasy and all these things, or it's very dangerous. In reality, it's now real, and it happened because it was the right thing to do, and it was absolutely historically justified. And the important message I want to give here today, because it really works. And the living conditions, the security condition, and the welfare condition of all these countries, including Kosovo, Montenegro, North Macedonia, which were the most neglected and poorest part of ex-Yugoslavia, are today much better than they ever were in history. And all of them will join NATO, EU, Schengen, OECD in the coming future ahead. And many of them have achieved that already. And that's a great result, so we should be proud and not use ex-Yugoslavia as a negative example, but as a positive example. I want to always issue this slide because many people say, but the US and the EU are not supporting independence of the new countries to emerge out of ex-Russia. Yeah, but they never had. And no EU country has really supported ex-Yugoslavian independence. Yeah? There was Brioni process for the ones involved in the details. Yeah? Everybody tried to keep Yugoslavia united. Everybody tried to keep the Soviet Union united. Here the most legendary speech of George Bush the father, who tried to keep Kiev united in August 91, 3 weeks before the independence referendum when Ukraine decided about independence. Yeah? And he sent James Baker to the Balkans in order to keep Yugoslavia united. And I tell you what, when the independence came, they all supported ultimately independence. And America was the greatest supporter of the independence of Croatia, Bosnia, Kosovo later. And this was decisive for them to achieve independence. So this is not a disencouragement, but it's an encouragement. You can change the public opinion in European Union and in the US if you succeed with gaining independence, and this has to happen. Montenegro is free, and so will be you. Croatia is free, and so will be you. Kosovo is free, and so will be you. Ukraine is free, and so will be also the countries of ex-Russia. It's absolutely historic precedent. It works very well. And this is what I call also the Fehlinger doctrine, to make big, dangerous enemy states into smaller, decent, good, free states. Yeah? and it has worked very well in the case of Yugoslavia. It has worked very well in the case of the Warsaw Pact and of the Soviet Union. Ex-Soviet Union is now a term, ex-Yugoslavia. Let's make also ex-Russia a term to be. Use always, when you think about it, when you use it in public communication, always ex-Russia as the term to be, and we can make it a reality. Here, I would like to draw the attention that all these republics, one from Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and also Kosovo, they have voted for independence overwhelmingly. And Kosovo, here this is the most important case, 99% for independence in the year 91. But did the international community recognize Kosovo then? No. And here see the same case in case of Chechnya. Chechnya as well, 90% for independence in 91. But what we do, we didn't recognize it. And in both cases, a terrible war was been necessary and happened, well, not necessary, but the liberation war had to happen. In the case of Kosovo, American intervention had to happen in order to do it. If we would have recognized Kosovo in 91, all this would have been avoided. And the same is true for Chechnya. We should have recognized in the beginning. And I say, why we didn't recognize Kosovo, why we didn't recognize Chechnya in 91? Because we are afraid of statehood of Muslim countries. And this is a big problem for some, and we didn't have a lot of information. Then we didn't recognize Kosovo, we didn't recognize Chechnya, and the resulting problems will haunt us for a long time, because we should have done it back then, and the world would be a much better place, and simply that's the case. Yeah? So let's come to Ukraine today. Here's the comparison. I would like to also show the comparison between occupied Croatia and occupied Ukraine. It's very striking. There was this 1/3 almost of Croatia occupied by the Serbs in the year from 91 to 95 to 97 even, and then 95 the liberation, and then 97 the peaceful handover of Eastern Slavonia. And Croatia is now a NATO, EU, Eurozone and Schengen member, completely integrated in the West, fully liberated. This must be the role model for Ukraine. Complete Western integration in NATO, EU, Schengen, Euro, all these things, and complete liberation of Ukraine. We have done it once for Croatia, we can do it again for Ukraine. What Ukraine needs, of course, I want to make it very clear, Ukraine needs to win. And Ukraine needs to join NATO. We need to deliver the weapons to destroy the Russian infrastructure and military machine. This is our moralic and historic duty, our political absolutely priority to win this war, because all the other things will happen after that one. And I draw the parallel again between Yugoslavia and Russia after the defeat, in the military defeat of Serbia and Yugoslavia in 2000, came the fall of Milosevic on the 5th of October 2000, and exactly the same thing can happen in the case of Russia. We need the military victory first, and then the political defeat in Russia for Putin. And all these events, historic events of ex-Yugoslavia, can repeat themselves further east, and I'm optimistic they will. The fall of Assad has proven exactly that this model is possible. Just last week, this historic success. And I would like to also ask for your attention and support. Yeah? When we believe in the breakup of Russia, we also have to believe in the breakup of Syria. I'm actively advocating for this, because since 10 years, anyhow, Eastern Syria, Kurdistan, Rojava is independent, and you know there's also other regions. I advocate for 5 new states instead of this failed state, Syria, and it will be a much better future ahead. So we must mutually support each other on this independence drive for ex-Russia, for ex-Syria, and also for ex-Iran, because I also give you notice, this will be the big topic of 2025 ahead, and be sure about this will certainly happen. So lessons for ex-Yugoslavia, lessons from ex-Yugoslavia for ex-Russia. Prepare world opinion, this is very important, and then learn from exactly the process we have prepared. Because now, 35 years after the end of the fall of the Berlin Wall, we know very much institutionally what to do. I personally worked in Kosovo, in Montenegro, in Macedonia, but there are thousands of consultants and experts and political experts who exactly know what to do, because we had 26 countries in between already, which we advised in different phases, from ex-Warsaw Pact, ex-Soviet Union. So here's exactly the list, and this is like a checklist for everybody what to do. Develop exile governments, hold independence referendum, apply for the Council of Europe and for the OECD in an official letter by your exile government movement. This is like a checklist, this exactly. Then you have to do a trade agreement with the European, aspire a global partnership of NATO, form a regional trade agreement like CEFTA, then of course go into all these long-term further situations like the customs union, the Eastern Partnership, peg your currency to the euro, and do not join the Chinese world but the free world, and exactly join the European world. You are very welcome, and we know exactly what to do. It worked very well for all the countries up to now. It will work also for new countries. And the most important concluding advice, which I campaigned for 1 year already, because Russia was in the Council of Europe. I personally have been in the youth delegations 30 years ago when Russia came into the Council of Europe in '96, and it was just expelled in 2002 because of the war. The logic is that all the successor governments of Russia can join the Council of Europe as well. So the logic is you form an exile government or a movement of exile of any of the 41 new states, and then you make an official letter from Buryatia and from Sakha, and you say to the Council of Europe officially, on an official letter, exile permanent, you want to take over the seat which Russia once had. And then you open an office in Strasbourg and you go to all the meetings, you protest with your blanket, and you say, why is Buryatia not a member of the Council of Europe? And this is absolutely the way to do it, and this has to happen immediately. The moment you go home, you apply for the Council of Europe as observer or associate member. At least you create the official letter which they have to deal with, and this is your rightful place in the European family of nations. Russia had it once, you will take it now, because you're a peaceful part of the European political family in the future. Thanks a lot for your attention.